Hi there, my name's Julie Lee. I'm the editor of Watchers Magazine, and I'm here today with Anita Jurd, Charlene Smart, and Mari Elliott, and we're here to answer your questions about Weight Watchers and the secrets of success, weight loss success. I'll just introduce everyone. Anita is the 2013 Australian Slimmer of the Year. She lost 49 kilos, going from 117 to 68 in 53 weeks. Anita lost by attending meetings and doing the online program. She has two small boys and lives in Sydney. Mari has a long history with Weight Watchers. She first joined in 19... Hi there, my name's Julie Lee. I'm the editor of Weight Watchers Magazine, and I'm here today with Anita Jurd, Charlene Smart. Hi there, my name's Julie Lee. I'm the editor, and we're here to answer your questions. I'm here today with Weight Watchers and Anita Jurd, Charlene Smart, and Mari weight loss success. And I'll just introduce everyone. Anita is the 2013 Australian Slimmer of the Year. She lost 49 kilos, going from 117 to 68 in 53 weeks. Anita lost by attending meetings and doing... Small technical problem. So we're back with Mari. Mari has a long history of Weight Watchers. She first joined in 1988 and lost 21 kilos. She regained the weight and so rejoined Weight Watchers in 1991 and lost 30 kilos. Mari became a leader in 1996 and was the Australasian Diamond Leader of the Year in 2013. Charlene lost 16.5 kilos attending meetings in New Zealand. She went from 84 kilos to 68. She is now a Weight Watchers leader herself and was New Zealand Diamond Leader of the Year last year. Charlene is also this month's Weight Watchers magazine cover star. And here she is. Looking amazing. So welcome everyone. So we asked everyone on Facebook and Twitter for your questions for the girls, and I wanted to start with Anita and just talk about what your trigger moment was to start Weight Watchers.
Okay, so for me personally, I was 117 kilos, and my trigger moment was every time that I looked in the mirror. I simply didn't recognise the person that was staring back at me, and I wanted to find myself again.
Charlene, what about you? What was your trigger moment?
So for me, it was not fitting into my favourite pair of jeans. I was one of those people that had 9 pairs in my wardrobe, and when you get to the bigger size and they start to split on the inside seams, that's when I realised I needed to do something about it. So that was my trigger.
And what about you, Mari? What was your trigger moment?
Well, I was asked to be a bridesmaid for my brother's wedding, and I knew I'd be the middle bridesmaid between two very slim size 8s, and I was at the time a size 16, pushing out of a size 16, so I wanted to make my brother proud of me. I wanted to feel good about myself as well, so I thought it was time to finally do something about my weight.
And when you went back to Weight Watchers in 1991, what was your trigger then?
I was getting married, so it was time for my own wedding, and I knew I could do it. I just had to learn this time that when it was over, I had to keep working. When I'd lost my weight, I had to actually keep working at keeping the weight off, not just getting there and thinking, yes, I'm finished, because it never actually finishes.
And Mari, what new habits have you learnt during your weight loss journey?
There's lots of new habits you learn while you're losing the weight. I guess for me, one of the biggest ones is probably stopping and thinking before I'd grab something to eat. So often I would grab it, eat it, and then really regret it afterwards. So now I really stop and think about, do I really want it? Am I hungry? Or what I tend to do with foods that I find difficult to stop eating is think about what happened the last time I ate them. So I'll give you an example. I'm a bit of a Tim Tam addict, as most of my members know. So normally I'll tell myself I just have the one, and track record is I normally tend to eat all 9 in the pack. So there is 9, just in case you're wondering. And so I kind of stop and think about it and think, the last time I told myself I'd have one, I ate the whole packet. So chances are it's probably going to happen again. So just that delayed time in thinking before I eat and just walking away and deciding I don't want to go down that road.
Anita, what have you learnt? What new habits have you learnt during your weight loss journey?
I think the most beneficial habit that I've learned during my weight loss journey was to have a whiteboard in my kitchen that has a meal plan of my entire week. So a lot of my problem was impulsive eating and eating quick food that wasn't good for me. So this way I have my entire week, it's visual, I'm looking at it all day. Okay, this is what I'm looking forward to for dinner. One problem that people bring up to me is that, well, what if you don't feel like eating that for dinner? The way that I cope with that, I mix and match. I've got 7 dinners up there. I can eat anything that's up there.
So you don't stick to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
No. I do have a vague plan, and that's my intention, but life gets in the way of that. You don't always feel like eating what's written on a board. So change it up and enjoy your food.
And Charlene, what about you? What have you learned along the way?
To be honest, it's actually very similar to what the ladies have already said. I also plan my meals in advance, because without planning I do tend to go and grab something that you don't really want to have or you don't really need. And the same as what Mari said, is actually thinking about if it's worth having it or not, and then deciding, you know, yes or no, and can I afford it in my points values as well. And also trying new recipes too. That's something else that I've learnt through the program as well, trying different things I wouldn't have thought of eating. Like recently I've discovered kale chips. 0 points, and you know, actually really healthy, and yeah, a fun snack.
It's great. So one of the questions from Facebook was, do you ever crave sometimes food and then regret eating the sometimes food later? So Anita, what do you think about that?
Well, you know what, I definitely crave sometimes food. I really love good quality cheese. The one thing that I do that is different from that, if I crave something and I know I shouldn't be eating it, I don't eat it. But if I do eat it, I never feel guilty about it, because if you start to feel guilty about it, one bad meal leads to one bad day, which leads to one bad week. It's not worth making yourself feel guilty. Enjoy everything you eat and make yourself accountable for it. Do extra exercise or eat more 0 pro points food for the rest of the day, or factor in your 49 bonus pro points for the week. There's ways around it. Weight Watchers is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's not about depriving yourself.
Yeah. And I guess that's the key, isn't it? Factoring into your pro points and jiggling them around to help you.
Exactly. And if it doesn't work for you in that week, that's okay. You can eat that special something next week if you want to. But there's ways to make it work and to make eating enjoyable.
And how do you deal with snacking after dinner?
There's a lot of ways to deal with snacking after dinner. One of them is to, when you finish your meal, if you know that's a problem for you, brush your teeth. And because food's not enjoyable after brushing your teeth for me anyway, and stick to water for the rest of the evening. Eat 0 pro points desserts, 0 pro points, even if you're still hungry after dinner, make a salad, have a 0 pro point soup. But, you know, sometimes that isn't enough. So for me, I make it special. I have something really decadent saved up for the day that I'm looking forward to after dinner. So for me, it's dark chocolate and a green tea. And that combination, it's taking all of the guilt away from it and making it enjoyable while still being accountable.
How do you stop at one piece of dark chocolate?
Well, for me, I'm enjoying it. Dark chocolate's really rich. But for you, it's an individual experience. For you, it could be something different.
I find that I knit after dinner, so I don't like to get my knitting dirty, so I don't knit.
That's fantastic. For me, I iron.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I have a 2 and 3-year-old. I have a lot of ironing.
What about you, Mari? What do you do after dinner to stop snacking?
I'm a little bit like Anita. I plan my days right down to the last pro point, and I know that I will always want something sweet after dinner. So whether I leave the pro points or not, I'm going to be eating it. So the best thing for me to do is to actually plan in advance to leave aside that 2, 3, or 4 pro points so I can have a really nice snack. And I'm a little bit addicted to the rich toffee bars that we sell in our meetings. So most evenings for me, it's a rich toffee bar in the fridge because it takes longer to eat, and a cup of tea. And that for me is just my thing. And once I've had it, I feel that I don't need anything else. I've had my little fix, and it's fitted into the Pro Point, so I have no guilt attached whatsoever, and I love it, enjoy it very much.
Mari, another question we get at the magazine quite a lot is how do you deal with people who urge you to eat when you don't want to eat, or when you've lost weight and they say, oh, but you can eat it now? How do you deal with that?
Yeah. Look, it's a question I often get asked from my members as well, and it's something that I feel quite confident in answering, because I have a very loving mother who's a very good cook, and it's the continual thing of, go on, you're fine, you're slim now, you don't need to. And I always say it comes back to being very assertive and very confident, and knowing what it is that you want. And if you really don't want something, do not eat for the sake of pleasing somebody else. It's important that you say no in a really nice way, and not to offend, but also in a way that lets the person know that you mean it. So, you know, saying, oh, no, I probably shouldn't, I think that's begging for someone to ask you twice. But I think if you're quite assertive and say, no, thank you, I don't want any, then they may ask twice, but it kind of lets them know, I think, that you mean it, and that you're fine, you don't need it anymore. So it's not always easy, but I think the more you do it, the more the better you get at doing it, and the more confident you get at doing it. And if someone really, really pushes it, I will say, look, I'm quite full now, but I'll take some home with me. And then if that falls in the garbage on the way, then so be it.
And Mari, what was the most challenging part of losing weight for you?
Because I tried all sorts of diets from a very young age. I think for me it's actually believing that I could do it. I'd lose a few kilos, regain them plus more, and I'd been dieting since primary school. So I tell everybody I was born a really fat baby, and just basically my weight problem started then. So I had problems all through primary school, high school, as a young adult. So I think for me it was the belief that I could actually lose the weight and be able to maintain that weight loss. So I think when I joined Weight Watchers and realised there was so many people around me all dealing with the same things, same issues as me, but still so successful, I realised that, I can actually do this. I think there's a chance. And once I started believing that I could do it, the rest was easy.
Charlene, what about you? What was the most challenging part for you?
I think it's very similar to what Mari said, is actually believing that I could do it this time. So I joined 4 times before I got to my goal weight over the kind of a long period of time. And I think being confident in the ability that this time I could actually stick to it, that was probably the main thing for me. Believing, and even now it's still, you still kind of think, can I still do this? But, you keep doing it, and obviously it keeps giving you results. So it's pretty much the same as what Mari said, believing that I can actually do it this time.
And after you've been having success with it for quite a long time, it must get a lot easier.
Yeah, it does get easier, and I think being a leader as well, you support your members every week, but I don't think they don't realise that they actually support you, and you're keeping the weight off and keeping you motivated to keep going as well.
Anita, your challenges were a little bit different than the other ladies.
Yeah, mine was a personal challenge. After 3 months of weight loss, I separated from the father of my children, which was very emotionally harrowing, and I stopped going to my meetings. I was still a Weight Watchers member, but I did stop weighing in weekly. After 6 weeks, my dad, he pulled me aside and said, Anita, this is something for you. It's also something for your children, and it's for your health. You need to continue and return to your Weight Watchers meeting. It was pretty difficult to go back in some ways, because I was very scared of what the scales would tell me, that I may have gained weight in those 6 weeks after losing 15 kilos in 3 months. But when I returned to Weight Watchers, I'd in fact lost a couple of kilos, but the most important factor for me was that I hadn't gained. And the way that I chose to look at that was that in those 3 months of going to Weight Watchers meetings weekly, I learnt enough to not go to meetings for 6 weeks and not regain that weight. But I knew I still had so much more to learn, so I effectively turned a negative into a positive. And I saw that break that I took as a way of using what I had learnt from my Weight Watchers meeting, but I needed that support. I still had 35 kilos to lose, and by returning, now I've lost the full 50.
That experience would have shown you that would have been really great to show you that you could do anything, that you could achieve.
Exactly. It really was confidence building, and as it is every time you walk into a Weight Watchers room, really, everybody's there to support you, and for others to feel the excitement that I felt. It was amazing.
A lot of the questions we got on Facebook was about plateau busting and how you deal with plateaus when you have been losing weight and you kind of stagnate for a while, and how you get over that. Charlene, I know that you had to deal with that. You were at you had about 2 kilos left to go for about 3 months at the end there, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. It was real tough because, you know, you get it to a point where you're so close and you just don't know what you're doing. So for me, I just kept at it. I switched up my meals. I tried some new exercise just to really kickstart it again. Really, for me, also going right back to basics, because I think a lot of us, we start off with a hiss and a roar, and then you kind of get, you know, you get into the swing of things. But if you kind of step right back when you're plateauing to where you started from and think like you're a new member again, I think that's what really helped me just bust through that plateau. And it was a long 3 months, but, you know, in the end it was you know, completely worth sticking around for it.
Yeah, you made it.
Yeah, I did, finally.
Mari, you would have experienced that with your members, and did you experience plateaus with yourself as well?
I did. I went through a bit of a plateau myself towards the end of my weight loss as well. And what I needed to do was really seek the advice of my leader. So I spoke to my leader, and she said, you know, you're doing a lot of the same old things all the time, which I recognised I was doing but didn't think it would be an issue. So for me it was a matter of mixing things up a little bit, making sure my meals weren't the same every day, doing something different with my exercise, and all of a sudden you know, things started to shift. As far as my members go, I agree with Charlene. Quite often you can get quite complacent as you're going along on the program. So, you know, your portions get bigger, your tracking becomes a little bit too relaxed. So quite often a real plateau that lasts for a long time can be something that we're kind of doing ourselves, as opposed to it just being the way our bodies are reacting. So I always suggest to my members to track for the coming week and bring it in and show it to me. And, you know, 9 times out of 10, they'll have this miraculous great loss the week after. And I'm sure it's not the fear of showing me that does the weight loss, but it's the fact that they've gone back to basics and being very careful with everything that they're doing. Absolutely.
Another thing that we got asked a lot about on Facebook was about maintenance. It's something that you've all experienced. Diane Richards asked, I'm a rejoiner, having been at golf for 6 years, but I couldn't maintain. How do you do it? So, Mari, maintenance is just as important, isn't it?
Absolutely. Maintenance is a really important part of weight loss. And I think that for many members, I think they think that when they get to their goal weight that it's just going to stay off now because they're there, and it's not like that at all. It really needs to be, you need to put as much, I think, especially in the early days, as much discipline into weight maintenance as you do into weight loss. And I often will say to my members that the only difference between what their journey now is and what mine is that I just get a few extra pro points than they do. So really the same sort of things that you're doing to lose the weight are the sort of things that you need to do to maintain that weight loss. And understanding that, you know, life will throw things at you and you may not always be on top of everything the way you are with your weight loss. It's the same when you're maintaining your weight. You might go through a bit of a tough period and the scales may go up and down, but that is why it's so important that you continue to weigh at least once a month in your meeting. And if you've had a bit of a gain, it's only a bit of a gain that you'll experience in a month. It's certainly different to not coming for 6 months and then having to undo all of that extra weight that you might have put on.
So stay on top of it.
Absolutely, and use the support of your fellow members and leader. And if you're going through a tough time even maintaining your weight, that's what the support is there for all the time. You're as important as a lifetime member maintaining their weight as you are as a member coming through your meetings.
Mm. Charlene, you mentioned just a few minutes ago that you went back to Weight Watchers 3 or 4 times before it really clicked with you. So how did it click, and then how did you deal with maintenance?
So you could probably see me nodding a lot because I was agreeing with Mari with everything that she said about maintenance, and also with members as well. For me, it was I'd lose 5 kilos. And this was the times before I got to gold. Lose 5 kilos, think, oh, I can totally do this by myself, and then stop going. Then before you know it, you gain that back plus some more. So for me, it clicked this time because I was really ready to lose the weight. I think when a lot of members come in, you can tell if they are really ready to lose the weight or not. Because if you're not ready, you're not committed. So for me this time, I was really ready to lose it, and I think the support of the meeting that I was at was a real bonus as well. Because without, it's the hour that you have each week, and I've met some amazing people through my journey, and I think it's looking forward to doing that every week just for yourself, and that clicked to me this time, making sure I spent the whole hour going. In previous times, I would go, weigh in and leave. So for me, the support was the thing that really clicked this time, and knowing that I could do it as well.
Anita, you said that you really enjoy maintenance. So what do you like about it?
What I enjoy about maintenance is that I'm not looking at the scales for motivation every week anymore. I'm seeing the benefits of living a healthy lifestyle every day. So my leader used to discuss other measurements of weight loss through your clothing size, actually taking physical measurements with a tape measure. I'm quite a tall person, so when I lose 500 grams, it's not the same as somebody half a foot shorter losing 500 grams. So I don't see it as immediately physically. So for me, the scales are really motivating. But for now because I'm maintaining, whilst I look at the scales monthly, I don't do it weekly, and I don't obsess about them. So I can feel, when I'm running more, I can feel that difference. So my breathing capacity, how I'm sleeping at night, how my clothes fit, all of those things, I measure my health by those things now, and that's what I really enjoy about it. But I need to set myself goals, because if I'm not working towards something, then my daily habits, it's always good to have a goal and see where you're going, and that's what I like about maintenance.
Another question about maintenance and staying motivated came from Karen Wilson, who said, I managed to maintain my 30 kilo weight loss for the last 12 months but still have another 15 to go. How do you remotivate yourself on your journey to keep going?
Okay, so I'm a lifetime member. I joined in 2003 and lost 17 kilos in 2003 when I was 17. And then I regained all of the weight, plus a lot more, obviously. And so what I look at that is that, well, I did lose 17 kilos, and I know that I can do it. And I know that Weight Watchers provides me with the tools to be able to do it. But as good as that is, I needed to look at my life now and the lifestyle factors that I have now and what I need to change now. So whether that's more exercise, changing my daily meals, trying new recipes, making sure that I measure everything that I'm eating so I'm not guesstimating, which I know we're all guilty for. So it's making myself accountable and looking forwards. It's great to look back and gain motivation from that, but how do you get to your goal?
Keeps it interesting too, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Marie, what do you think about that?
I tend to agree with Anita. I think goals are really important, especially goals through your weight loss journey, because for some people they might have joined because they were uncomfortable, or because they, their clothes were getting a little bit too tight for them, and so they may in fact lose that first 5, 10 or even 20 kilos. But if they're not at their personal goal weight, then you really need to sit down and make a decision about why you're wanting to go further, because quite often people will lose that first big chunk and then they kind of just get stuck, and they might be stuck for months. And it's, they might start to think, oh, I've just hit this plateau. But I think those sort of plateaus have a lot more to do with how much effort, I guess, you're putting in. Not even so much effort, but about recognising that you do want to go further, because unless you stop and think, well, what is it about going further that I want, you won't put as much commitment in to make those changes happen. So if I have members that have lost even that 20 kilos and have another maybe 20 to go, I always say, well, would you like to stay where you are? Are you happy where you are? And they quite often will say, no, I'm not. And I say, okay, so what is it about losing more weight that you desire? What is it that that you want to see for yourself, that you want to accomplish by losing more weight? Because I think then that makes them think about, I want to lose weight for my health, I want to look better, I want to get into the next size. And so suddenly they start to think about that goal weight being something that they would like to achieve, and then putting into practice the steps they need to take. Because it's too easy to sit back and go, I feel better now, I'm a bit healthier, and I'm not in those really big clothes anymore. But unless you have a real goal that you want to attain, you do become a little bit too relaxed, and then all of a sudden the weight stops moving. You may not be gaining weight, but you're not losing any weight either.
So in essence, they also need to be looking at their emotional journey as much as their physical journey.
Absolutely, yeah. And a reminder to everybody that that's what that support is for, that's what your leader is for. I mean, Weight Watch is very unique in that you have that massive support system. And I think if you're really struggling on your own, but you're coming to the meetings and you're sort of still sitting on your own and not getting the support that you need, you really are taking all of that on by yourself again. And I think it's important to reach out, whether it's to fellow members or speak with your leader and say, you know what, I'm really struggling. I need to push forward a little bit, and you will always get the support you need because every leader has been in your shoes. And I think that's really important to recognise that.
And just finally, I just want to ask everyone about their last pieces of advice for people that are either losing weight or on maintenance or anywhere along their journey. So Anita, do you have a last piece of advice you would like to share?
Yeah, my piece of advice is don't strive for perfection. Give away with perfection. I'm no Elle Macpherson, and when I gave up the ideal that I had to be, that's when I reached my goals. It became, nobody tells you how to be easy on yourself, but they all say during weight loss, don't be hard on yourself. For me, that was giving up the idea of perfection and making small goals, so when I achieved them, they slowly added up to achieve a 50-kilo loss.
What about you, Charlene? Any last-minute pieces of advice?
I think for me, advice to everyone is to keep at it. It might be a tough journey and you might find it difficult at times, but really keep at it, because you know what you want your end goal to be. You want to be healthy, happy, and set a good example for those around you. And I think whenever I feel like I want to give up, that's what I keep thinking. I think I am so happy, I am a lot healthier, and I just love life now. So, and also what Anita said is not punishing yourself and not striving for perfection, because, you are who you are.
And Marie, what about you?
I think what both the girls have said is great. The perfection, getting rid of that and realising that if you were that good at being good, you probably wouldn't even have a weight problem in the first place. So understanding that you're not always going to get it right, you're not always going to be wonderful, but it doesn't matter, it is a journey, and probably for me the most important advice I would give is to enjoy the journey, not just think I can't wait till I get there so I can finish. It's got to be something that you enjoy doing, because to maintain that weight loss, you're going to be pretty much continuing to do those same things later on. So enjoy what you're doing. If there's things you don't like, adjust them or tweak them so they do fit into the program really well. And have a laugh and enjoy what you're going through, the new changes, the differences in your lifestyle, and know that every little bit, as Anita said, all adds up, and one day you're there. So enjoy the journey the whole way.
Well, I'd like to thank Anita, Mari and Charlene, and I hope that everyone's got a lot of good advice out of this Google Hangout. Thank you.